Let's bring up some Eagle topics here because, Bill, this is your wheelhouse, and they have to decide the 53-man roster. There's also a bigger conversation when it comes to the Eagles involving Howie Roseman, which we'll get to in a second. But for the time being, I want to know if you agree with the consensus of what the 53-man roster is going to be. Consensus being what I've seen from a couple of people that cover the team that have, pretty much narrowed it down and given their rationales why certain guys won't make the team, certain guys will make the team, certain guys will be on the practice squad. So we'll start real easy on offense, and we'll go with the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, and Will Grier will be cut and not put on the practice squad, according to the people that cover the team. The only issue being whether Kenny Pickett will be the backup, and it looks like he will be.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Grier somehow joins this coaching staff. I think that was part of the reason why he came here. He followed his buddy in Kellen Moore. He was in Dallas when he was there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's an obvious one. Those three are their quarterbacks.
All
with
right.
Pickett as the backup.
Running backs, Tyrion Davis-Price has flashed a little bit, but the consensus is they will only keep 3 running backs, Saquon, Kenny Gainwell, and Will Shipley, the draft pick, and maybe they get Davis-Price on the practice squad. Do you agree with that?
Agree. Totally. That's definitely how they're going to go. How about Will Shipley didn't even dress for the 3rd preseason game, which signals to me not only is he making the team, obviously, he's going to be a part of this offense. Because why not play him in that 3rd preseason game if you're not planning on using him?
Yeah, you're right about that. Now, I was reading social media, a lot of people stumping for the return of Boston Scott, who just got released by the Rams, I guess.
Yeah.
Boston Scott.
He's not coming back.
Not coming back?
No.
Okay. A lot of people love themselves some Boston Scott in this town.
Giant killer.
He's like right up there with Paul Reed. and Patrick Beverly.
He's done a little
We
bit
had
more.
a couple of big Boston Scott games.
Yeah. But
You can't bring it back, though.
All right. Wide receivers, 6 of them.
I have 6 as well.
Including Britton Covey, Johnny Wilson, and Aeneas Smith, who will make the roster because it's precarious to put him on a practice squad where you get poached. So A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, and then Covey and Johnny Wilson, Aeneas Smith, the rookies will be kept. Cut. Nagata will be cut. Paris Campbell, as we talked about, cut. John Ross cut. Shame for those guys trying to make a comeback. But they will salvage Nagata on the practice squad. Is that what you got?
Yeah, the surprising one there is that Paris Campbell, who a lot of people had high hopes for when he was signed, isn't going to make the team. And I agree. I have the same 6, and I think Nagata probably will be put on the practice squad. I think they're high on him, but I don't see another team signing him.
All right, tight ends, only 2. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra. E.J. Jenkins being cut. Albert O. also being cut, but they might be able to salvage Jenkins on the practice squad.
Now, I disagree here.
Okay.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles will keep 3 tight ends, and I think the 3rd will be E.J. Jenkins. But I don't
keep him, huh?
I don't see them having only 2 tight ends on this roster. I think that you're going to have not only Goddard and Calcaterra. I think E.J. Jenkins may be a part of this team.
Okay. Let's move on to your offensive line, 10. They usually keep the number 10. Lane Johnson, Malott, Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton. And then as the backups, Tyler Steen, Fred Johnson, Trevor Keegan, Dylan McMahon, and Brett Toth.
So I have them only keeping 9 offensive line.
Uh-oh, who gets cut?
I have Toth going to the practice squad.
Toth going to the practice squad.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on now to the defensive tackles. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Ojamu, Tui Paluto, and Thomas Booker cut Mustafa and Gabe Hall, but both shifted to the practice squad, according to Jeff McClain.
So I thought there was a chance they would keep 6 defensive tackles, but I've actually, when I did my 53, I have them only keeping 5. So Carter, Davis, Williams, Tupolotu, and Ajomo, and I have them moving Booker and Mustafa to the practice squad.
Okay. All right, practice squad getting filled up here. Defensive ends and outside linebackers, Huff, Sweat, Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Patrick Johnson, Taron Jackson getting cut, and so is Aquara.
Yeah, Aquara is an interesting one because he's a former third-round draft pick, and he did show some flashes in the preseason game on Saturday, but I'm right there with him. I have all six of them. Patrick Johnson is a guy, I mentioned him last week to you, Mike, when we were here. He's impressed me. I mean, he's always been a special teams player, but he may actually have a role on this defense coming around the edge, especially because something we're going to talk about a little bit later in the hour. Nolan Smith, man, it's hard to be completely out on a guy who's only entering his second season, but you don't pass the eye test for me. I'm out on Nolan Smith.
Wow. You're Nolan Smith, the draft pick out of Georgia. You're down on him.
I've been saying it all off season and then throughout training camp that I have not seen anything from Nolan Smith, and he continues to disappoint me. And that's why I want to raise the bigger question about Howie Roseman's draft picks, and we'll talk about that coming up.
Will. And you're down on Howie drafting defensive ends.
Guy can't draft an edge.
Wow. All right, let's move on to inside linebackers. Devin White, Zach Bond, Kobe Dean. It will be a three-headed rotation monster. Axeman Jr. and Ben Van Sumeren he's got making the team. And Oren Burks being cut.
Yeah, I'm right there. I got the same five. Ben Van Sumeren, very good special teams player. So I think he'll make the team over Oren Burks. Although Burks, who was hurt for a lot of the preseason, he looked good too. But I don't see them keeping more than five. So
all right, now
Burks
he's got
cut.
Brandon Smith on the practice squad, but not Burks being totally cut.
He's got Burks getting to the practice squad?
No, he doesn't have Burks going.
Yeah.
He's got Brandon Smith going to the practice squad.
Yeah, I think Burks will get signed somewhere. The guy's played enough games in the NFL for the 49ers, so.
Cornerbacks, Darius Slay, Quinion Mitchell, Isaiah Rogers, Cooper DeJean, Keely Ringo, Eli Rick. Solid six right there. Josh Jobe and McPherson being cut, but both of them going to the practice squad. You agree?
So this is where I'm different from a lot of people. I see them keeping Josh Jobe on this roster. So I have Slay, Rogers, Ringo, Quinion, and Cooper. But my sixth cornerback is Josh Jobe because he's such a good special teams player. And does that become even more important now with the new kickoff rule? So I have them keeping Jobe and then maybe trying to slide Ricks onto the practice squad, but he may get signed somewhere else.
Okay. Safeties, CJ, Blankenship, Avonte Maddox, Bradbury being cut, according to Jeff McClain. Also, Tristan McCollum and Andre Sam and Caden Stearns being cut, but McCollum and Sam will wind up on the practice squad.
So I have them keeping four safeties on the active roster.
With Bradbury being kept.
Bradbury getting cut.
Oh!
So I have CJ, Blankenship, Avonte Maddox, and Tristan McCullum, who I told you right before the break I thought really impressed, was the only defensive player who impressed me. Sidney Brown will start on the pup.
Bradbury hasn't played that poorly. He seems to have grasped that kind of a role at safety. You still say cut, huh?
They didn't even dress him in the third preseason game, which could signal one of two things.
I think they're going to keep him.
One, they're going to keep him, or two, they didn't want to risk him getting injured and then having to come to some sort of injury settlement. They're just going to flat out cut him.
All right. And, of course, your specialist, Jake Elliott, Brandon Mann, and the long snapper is Bill Colarulo.
I could do it.
Who wanted to be a long snapper in the NFL.
I was a pretty good long snapper.
Never made his dream.
I decided to go to law school instead.
Well, there you go.
Should have chased
Rick
the long
Lovato,
snapper.
of course, is due for a contract extension. How much do they pay a long snapper?
No, he got an extension
Did
this
he?
offseason. They took care of all their
he's in the
specials.
final year of his contract.
I thought they took care of him this summer.
It said he's in the final year of his contract.
Hold on. They took care of Elliott and Braden Mann. I thought they took care of him.
I can only go by what's written
Hold on.
here by Jeff McClain.
Well,
Lovato is entering the final year of his contract, but I don't think Roseman will fool around with that scenario. In other words, it's pending.
Over $1 million for a long snapper, by the way.
Is that right?
If that's what I got.
Over
right
$1 million?
On March 12th, 2024, Eagles agreed to terms with Rick Lovato. So did they just sign him to a one-year deal?
Maybe.
Yeah, a
I
one-year
don't know.
extension. They
Okay.
entered into a one-year
There
extension.
you
Okay,
go.
I remember they gave him a new deal, but it was only for a
You
year.
should probably go year to year on a long snapper, shouldn't you?
Probably, yeah. Remember Mike Batram? What was his name? Was that his name?
Bartram.
Bartram, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, he would snap it in the mailboxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or through school bus windows.
Yeah.
He caught a
610.
couple touchdowns, too.